Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? So I was watching another classic fight from 1964. Ernie Terrell, who was rated number 3 at the time of this fight when he took on Bob Foster. Foster was actually rated number 7 light heavyweight at the time. Ernie Terrell, looking at a lot of his fights, man, because a lot of people, when they think of Ernie Terrell, they think of the Muhammad Ali situation where Muhammad was telling him to call him Ali, and Terrell was calling him Clay. But to me, there's a lot more than just that. As much as I love Ali, I like Ernie Terrell too, man. He was a big guy in that era, 6'6", anywhere from 205 to 210 pounds. Big guy for that era, man. 82-inch reach. Had one of the best jabs of the 60s, if you want to say Liston and Ali, and then probably Terrell. He had one of the best jabs. This fight happened before, a lot of people regard Bob Foster as probably one of the best light heavyweights to ever do it. It's funny, this fight took place in 64. From 68 to 1974, Foster, he held on to the WBC and the WBA light heavyweight title. He was and going into this fight with Terrell, he was the number 7 rated light heavyweight. He was a tall light heavyweight, 6'4", with a 79-inch reach. At light heavy, he had been knocked out by Doug Jones. Now going into this fight, he was coming off a first round KO of Alan Thomas. He had a lot of power at light heavyweight, did Foster. And before I get to this fight, during his run from 68 to 74, he beat everybody except 2 fights that were non-light heavyweight title fights. He lost a 1-loss Ali, and he lost to an undefeated Joe Frazier. That's one thing about Foster, is he would test himself against heavyweights, man. And we know that there's, a lot of fame at heavyweight division. It's always been like that. So yes, that could have been one of the reasons why he tried to, fight at heavyweight against the big money guys. But you also have to be courageous, man. And he was a champion at light heavyweight. He could have just rested, and who knows what his record would have been when his career was over had he just stayed at light heavyweight the whole time. You know what I mean? Ended his career with 46 knockouts, man. So he had a lot of power. He would like to fight from range. But in this fight, when I was watching this fight, Arthur Mercanti was the referee of this fight. When I was watching this fight, though, I know Foster likes to fight from a range. He wants to land that big right hand. That was his money punch. But in this fight, he had nowhere to go because Terrell was out jabbing him. Round 1, he was getting out jabbed. This is one of the best, as far as using his jab, one of the best performances I've seen Terrell have, as far as pumping out that jab. In this fight, he didn't do a lot of the leaning over to the right. He had a tendency, and I seen a fight when he fought Thad Spencer, and he had a tendency, man, where he'll lean over to his right. He'll like bend at his waist and lean to his right and then stick the jab out there. And he would get caught over the top sometimes with overhand rights, and he got dropped. Like in the Spencer fight I watched, he got dropped from leaning over, then boom, he got caught. He didn't see it coming. I liked when he fought a little bit more straight up and used the jab and circled. He was excellent. He could double up the jab. He could feint. There's a few times in this fight where he was coming forward on Foster and he was feinting, and then boom, he'll stick a hard jab. Beautiful. Then during this fight, there was a lot of boos. The announcers were saying that Terrell was doing a lot of holding and leaning on Foster. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, they would have hated Vladimir. I mean, if Mercanti, he awarded the 5th round to Foster because of the holding and clinching. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, I'm not sure Vladimir would have lasted in this era. You know what I mean? With all Lennox used to hold and clinch too a lot in some of his fights. He'll put his body weight on you. But I was just thinking to myself, like, man, some of these modern guys would have got a lot of points taken away from them back in those days, or just got rounds taken away from them back in those days in the 60s. But Foster had nowhere to go, man. He landed his right hand a few good times. He landed some good lead rights. Terrell was taking them. And then once Terrell established his jab and he was outlanding Foster from a distance, because from a long distance, because that's what Foster liked to do. At least when I watched him, He likes to set up that long right hand with his jab. He had a beautiful jab and a good right hand. He could move, bend at the waist, parry with shots, come back up with hooks. I mean, he could move his upper body. But once he got outlanded, was getting out jabbed, then Terrell closed the distance on him. In the rounds 5 and 6, he was closing the distance. I know that they were saying he was holding and grabbing, but shit, man, he was landing some good uppercuts. Few body shots looked like they were borderline. A lot of give and take, but you could just tell just the weight and the size was giving Foster trouble, and the pressure. He was getting pressured by the bigger guy, and the weight was getting leaned on him. He came into the fight 183 pounds. I know he added 11 pounds from his previous fight going into this fight. And still only 183 to Terrell's 203. So he was still outweighed by 20 pounds, although he added 11. But once Terrell closed the distance on him, he started to land those body shots. Looked like those were the punches that were getting to Foster. And in the 7th round, he dropped him. Well, the end of the 6th is like he was really hurting him, man. He was getting him against the ropes, just bullying him. Terrell was able to get his head under Foster's head, and the way he was positioning himself, and he was putting his left shoulder on Foster, pinning him against the ropes, and then coming in with those right uppercuts with his head under Foster's chin. You know what I mean? So a big 6'6" guy is able to get under another guy, you know, somebody 2-3 inches shorter than him. You know what I mean? So again, Terrell will give up his height sometimes. Sometimes it will work for him, and sometimes it wouldn't work for him. But he was smothering Foster. He couldn't let that long right hand go like he wanted to. He was smothering him, so he outboxed him from a distance and then just jumped right on top of him and started to smother him. The 7th round, he knocks him down. It was kind of a weird knockdown because it was a body shot that was hurting him, and then he was kind of walking away from the action, and Terrell landed some other little punches. Looked like he was just, Foster was just hurt to the body and fatigue. He falls. He gets up at 8. Mercanti, he gets up. Mercanti looked like he's going to let the fight go on. Then he just called the fight. But he was up, and they called it a knockout. You know what I mean? Then after this fight, Ernie Terrell, he went on to beat Eddie Minchin, Chavallo. He beat Doug Jones, the guy that knocked out Foster. And then that's when he went into the fight with Ali. But Ernie Terrell was a damn good fighter, damn good heavyweight. So was Bob Foster. And it's funny because after this fight, 4 years after that, he goes on his legendary light heavyweight title reign. So both of these guys had success after the fight. Just one of those fights, man, where, you know, I'm just getting it out there. I know probably a lot of you guys out there know nothing about this fight. A lot of you guys do know about this fight, but very entertaining fight. Just my little post-fight reaction. They were fighting with 8-ounce gloves. You can just hear the snapping jabs landing from Terrell, man. I was just really impressed by his jab in this fight. Damn good fight. Damn good fight. I'm out.